Oh my gosh, this is so ridiculous. Hello and welcome to my channel. In this video, we are going to be talking about The Willful Child by Steven Erikson. Now, this is actually book 3. I found out directly after starting it when I went to add it to my Goodreads and realized this is not, in fact, the first one. The first one is just called Willful Child, whereas this is Willful Child, The Search for Spark. But I had heard about this and the fact that Erikson had a sci-fi series, and looking at it too, I'm just like, this is going to be interesting because this is absolutely not what you would expect from Steven Erikson. And in fact, if you look up the reviews for the first book, it's almost every negative review that I saw is like, if you were interested in this because of Malazan, don't. It's not even close to the same. And I'm like, well, yeah, I mean, like, I feel like that's kind of a given, because A, it's sci-fi, B, if you just look at it at all and see what it is, it's very, very clearly something different. And what this is a ridiculous sci-fi comedy, and especially the first book is very much kind of a parody satire, very much over-the-top parody satire on Star Trek, specifically the Captain Kirk days, with the just kind of ridiculous things they're getting into, the womanizing, that sort of thing. All of that it's making fun of in just an increasingly ridiculous way. And I mean, the way the book opens, everything about it, I feel like tells you what you're getting into, and it just depends if the humor works for you or not. Now, I still got out book 3 because, and this is like, it's not really a spoiler, but I'll tag it so that you can skip if you don't want to know anything. But the reason I'm so excited to continue this series is because when I accidentally started this book, and this is once again The Willful Child, The Search for Spark, and I had no idea, once again, because I hadn't actually started the first one. But so this opens up. We have this one-page first chapter where we find out that Spark is a robot dog, and he's like, "Where's Spark?" And then he just pops up. He's like, "Oh, there you are. Okay." And then we get bonus novel, Willful Child, The Undiscovered Bunny. And just even that right there, I feel like just tells you the sort of humor that you're gonna get in these. That sounds like it's gonna get even more ridiculous the further that it gets, and I am so here for it. I will note, since I have book 3, but I don't have the others, I ended up finding out that actually all 3 are on Scribd and included on Scribd if you have Scribd for the audiobooks. And the audio was really, really well done, and I enjoyed it immensely. It fit the tone and the kind of the themes that it's going for here really, really well. Now, like I said, this is stupid humor, and you have to be into that to enjoy this. If you don't like stupid, cheesy humor, this is probably not going to be for you, because like even in the first book, the further you get, kind of the more ridiculous that it gets. And there were a couple of moments later on in the book that were just so dumb, and I just was just busted out laughing at one particular scene. And it was the part that was the joke wasn't even the funniest part. It was kind of them talking about around it, and it just got me so much. But there's just so much here that I found to enjoy. And just looking at the description of the series, and by the way, the tagline for the first book is boldly going where they probably shouldn't, which is just also great. But it's we're following Captain Adrian Sawbeck, who's just basically kind of ends up captaining a ship and through against the odds and like really probably shouldn't be, and him kind of getting into shenanigans where like the leadership is also trying to get him into trouble, and his not so crack crew going on adventures and having things happen. There's lots of jokes throughout about it, like there being episodes where they're doing this or that and everything as well, and so you really do get the Star Trek parody, but there's also just a lot of silly things going on. And the description says that the captain is supposed to be like a combination of Kirk and American Dad. I felt it was more almost like a kind of adding in a pretty good dose of Zaphod Beeblebrox and Zap Brannigan from Hitchhiker's Guide and from Futurama, especially some Zap Brannigan. There were definitely some things that made me think that. Some different animated program, but that's kind of where I went with it. And it is just ridiculous, and a lot of the humor is very inappropriate, and it's definitely humor, I feel like, that in some ways is more suited to an older time. You wouldn't get some of this as much anymore, and so that's kind of the thing too, is you have to be funny with not only silly and cheesy, but inappropriate humor, and if you have that kind of sense of humor, I think this is one that you're really going to enjoy. Obviously, don't go in thinking that you're getting Malazan. This is like the polar opposite of Malazan in every way. Instead of fantasy, it's sci-fi. Instead of epic, it's silly. Instead of this huge original creation, it's parody. This is not trying to be anything like Malazan at all, and so you really shouldn't expect that. This, I feel like, I wonder if this was like for him to take a break with all the Malazan stuff, because it's such heavy, dense, and complex things, just writing something fun and ridiculous. But it is just very, very much, even the writing style feels so incredibly different. This just felt like Steven Erikson having fun, and I had a lot of fun going through this with it as well. It just seems like it is going to be a very fun, ridiculous series. There's only 3 books. The second one is The Wrath of Betty. And then, like I said, book 3 is The Search for Spark, until we get to the bonus novel. But absolutely just ridiculous, insane. I actually read another kind of comedy sci-fi thing that I did audio as well, and the audio was also pretty good, but it just did not hit like this one did. So I feel like if you like dumb humor, and if you've watched enough of my videos to kind of know what my humor is, I guess maybe that'll help tell you. But like I said, this is definitely one. If everything I've talked about sounds like, okay, that sounds like up my alley, I think you really enjoy this. This book, I feel like, is criminally underrated just because of the fact that I feel like a lot of people don't know that these exist. I know I sure didn't until I randomly found it. I got this book 3 on Book Outlet randomly, and I'm like, yes. I had like briefly heard about it, but I never heard anybody talk about it. And I was assuming originally that it was going to be like a serious thing, at least to some extent, despite the name. Just because it's Erikson, I feel like I couldn't get past expecting that. But I feel like it's immensely clear right off the bat what this is, and it really lives up to exactly what it's trying to do. It's not trying to tell this amazing complex story. It's just a fun romp through space with a whole cast of characters and just kind of playfully batting at a lot of the things that you see in classic Star Trek. And I know somebody else who's reading this mentioned the Orville, which was kind of the, like, I mean, it felt like more Star Trek than the newer Star Trek was feeling in some places, but at the same time was very much having a lot of dumb humor in it. And so another kind of comparison here, although this probably takes itself less seriously than the Orville does too, because even with the dumb humor, there's a lot of more serious plot lines, but just like I said, a wild, fun romp. If you want something ridiculous, a palate cleanser, I think this will be great. I will most certainly be reading, well, actually probably listening, and maybe hybrid for this third one. But the audio was so good. For some reason, when I'm doing comedy stuff, I tend to like audio more. I just feel like having somebody deliver it in a really comedic fashion is also makes it even more enjoyable. So I'll probably do audio for the next 2 since they are unscripted. But I'm so excited, and I have a feeling after I finish these, I'm going to wish there were more, because I had a blast with these. So anyway, those are my thoughts on Willful Child by Steven Erikson. I am so excited to continue this. Definitely let me know if you end up reading or listening to this or picking it up at all, and if the humor works for you or not, or if you were aware of it. And if you were aware of the book, let me know if you had any clue what it was, because I know I was not expecting what I got at all. So I'd be curious just what other people's thoughts are, whether they've read or know almost nothing about it. Just definitely curious to see that, so let me know. Make sure to give the video a like if you enjoyed it. Check the link in the description, as always, for the Wizardly Duo Discord if you want to chat books, whether this book, other books, any books, really anything at all. It is a lot of fun, and we would love to have you. And of course, if you enjoy my content, make sure to subscribe.